Alright, what's up everyone, I'm Faloki, and there have been some reports that Russell Wilson wants to play with Antonio Brown, and today I just want to give my thoughts on that, put some information out there so you can kind of get a general understanding of what the whole situation is, and then as a Seahawks fan, I want to give my thoughts and opinions. Like the Carlos Hyde situation, I want to keep this video relatively short because there's not much information to go into it, it's really just rumors and speculation that Russell Wilson wants to play with him. And if you go on to like this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new. That'd be very cool. But on to the topic at hand. Russell Wilson has said that he wants to play with Antonio Brown, and there are a lot of question marks when it comes to this actual statement. No one really knows if this statement is actually true from Russell Wilson. It's just sources saying that Russell Wilson would love to play with Antonio Brown, but if we actually go and look into the whole Antonio Brown situation, it really is very questionable if he could even play this season. He has quite a few serious cases on him right now, and the NFL hasn't even looked into his whole suspension or how long it would be, so no one really knows how long Antonio Brown will even be suspended when he does come back. There's also a chance that he doesn't actually come back because if this whole sexual assault case with Antonio Brown actually shows him as guilty, there's almost no way that he gets back into the league with something like that on him. He also has a harassment case, and he had that whole situation with the moving truck driver, which led to a lot of different charges on him. So really, this whole situation is just a big question mark. No one even knows if Antonio Brown will be able to play in 2020 if he does get picked up by a team. And for the Seahawks, when it comes down to signing Antonio Brown, they do have Josh Gordon, and I'm not too sure when it comes down to his contract what the situation is and if he'll still be under the Seahawks when he does come back from his suspension. But even if he isn't under the Seahawks after the whole suspension thing goes over, I think that he will come back because he didn't really get to prove himself on the Seahawks. And the problem that arises for the whole Josh Gordon suspension, because everyone has basically been saying that since Josh Gordon was suspended for, weed, and weed is illegal now in the NFL and basically the entire United States. So people think that he should be able to come back without any problems, but when his suspension actually came out, it did mention something about PEDs. That could just be the wording of how the NFL actually does it, the PEDs and substance abuse, but if it is two separate things where he actually did have performance enhancing drugs within his system, then that could definitely make his suspension a little bit longer, could cause some more problems. But if Josh Gordon does actually end up coming back from suspension, I think the Seahawks should definitely pick him up. That's a good third or maybe even fourth wide receiver, especially since we did sign Philip Dorsett. That would definitely lead the Seahawks to have a very good wide receiving core because honestly, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Philip Dorsett, and Josh Gordon may just be one of the fastest wide receiver cores in the league if that is the pairing that they end up getting. To move back onto the topic of Antonio Brown, though, his suspension is not currently being looked at by the NFL because he has so many pending cases. It's really hard for the NFL to really create a timetable for his suspension without any real knowledge of what the cases have come out to be. But I think if a team really does show some real interest in picking him up, or a team actually ends up trying to pick him up, the NFL is basically going to be forced to look at AB's suspension and basically give him a rough timetable for what he currently has against him. Because if Antonio Brown wants to get back in the league, teams really have to know what his suspension is going to be. They can't just have all these question marks in the air if they're trying to sign him and give him money to actually play for them. And although there's been a lot of off-field issues with Antonio Brown, and definitely those are some big problems, he needs to get those worked out. He has been relatively quiet in the past few months. Maybe it's because of the whole quarantine thing. He really can't be causing problems right now. Or maybe he's cleaned up his act. Who knows? But as a football player, you really can't argue with it. He is one of the best receivers out there in the game today. Obviously, he hasn't played in quite a while, but he's good. He's definitely fast. He's faster than a lot of people. He's got great hands, and I think if he does get back onto the football field, if he gets back into the NFL, I think any team will definitely get some big help from him. It's really just the off-field problems that they have to watch out for. But overall, I think that this could be a good signing if they end up doing it. I don't think it'll happen, though. I personally don't think that Antonio Brown will be back and playing within the 2020 season. I think his suspension will be very long from the NFL. They want to kind of stop other players from doing what Antonio Brown has been doing, like going crazy on social media, doing a bunch of crazy stuff outside of the league. And I think the NFL won't let him back into the league that easily. I think he'll have a big suspension, and that might cause him some problems getting picked up by a team. And although Pete Carroll is definitely one of the most lenient coaches when it comes to a player's personality and off-field kind of stunts. I think that Antonio Brown might just be too much for the Seahawks to handle. I think that their wide receiver core would be fine if they got Josh Gordon back, but then again, there are question marks for him too. But overall, Philip Dorsett was a good signing in free agency. Definitely a very speedy wide receiver core for the Seahawks, and I think Russell Wilson is primed to have a big year. And that's going to do it for this video. To sum it up, basically, Russell Wilson said that he wanted to play with Antonio Brown, and I think a lot of quarterbacks would want to play with Antonio Brown because looking away from the off-field issues, Antonio Brown's a great wide receiver. There's no doubt about it. But I think that the Seahawks will not end up picking him up. I think his suspension will be too much from the NFL. And I think the Seahawks, if they can get Josh Gordon back, will have a very good wide receiver core in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Philip Dorsett, and Josh Gordon. So I don't think there would be much of a need for Antonio Brown when it came to that. But either way, we really just have to see what happens. Any quarterback would like to play with Antonio Brown, so this whole headline that's been going around doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. But I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it, like I said in the beginning. And if you're new, subscribe. That'd be very cool. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.